Boonie, how's it going? Where are you playing out of?
Harris Cherokee in North
Oh,
Carolina.
okay. Harris, Cherokee, a place that I have been to once before. It's nice up there. And what's the size of the game here?
It is 5-10-20. It's normal or it's a 5-10 game, but the $20 straddle got put on permanently
Okay, so
immediately at the start of the game by a CLP sub, funny enough.
is a 510 a regular game there at Cherokee?
No, not at all. The reason this one was going was because there was basically an hours promotion,
Uh-huh.
and the majority of people were there to collect their hours. This was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a 5-10 list got started, and I thought it was a good chance to actually do a shot take.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't go that often.
No, it's incredibly rare. It only happens during like the circuit or
Right. And if you see like some 2-5 regs playing in it that aren't good, that's great. Now you're playing double the stakes too with 5, 10, 20. How deep are you here?
we are 2,800 effective and we are five-handed.
Wow, five-handed. Wow, that is a big step up there. So is like some of the deepest money you've ever played with at the table?
No, not really. The 2-5 game, this is they're both match the stack.
Okay.
So the 2-5 game can get very deep and it can also get a permanent straddle going. So I'm pretty used to playing deeper than this even.
Okay. But it's a big game in terms of the blinds, though.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, cool. Start us off here.
So hero is in the small blind with Queen Jack of Diamonds.
Okay.
So the button is going to be the first one to open,
Okay.
$75.
So
He will be the main villain.
button opens to 75. Now it's five-handed, which means the button is basically second to act. So it's always interesting here with like a five-handed type of situation where there are bunches of people like in the blinds. Buttons opens to 75, even still short-handed, even more so. This definitely probably should be playing small blind three bet or fold with every single holding that you have. So I would three bet here.
Right. I do 3-bet to 275.
So hero three bets to 275 with Queen Jack of Diamonds. So just over 3x. Okay.
Yep. And the button will call.
Button calls. One could make the case that this might be a tad small, being from out of position. Do you know anything about the button here?
She she is allegedly one of the strongest players in the room. This is one of the first times I've played against her, but a mutual buddy of mine who I also think is pretty good, he said that she is a very strong player, which he's never said about anybody else.
Maybe might want to go a little bit larger to possibly dissuade her from calling. It looks like the pot's about 580 now, right? She makes the call?
Yep.
Okay. And you guys go heads up.
Yep. The flop will be 10 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 3 of clubs.
10 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 3 of clubs. Okay.
And I decide to bet more towards the smaller side and I go 225.
So hero bets 225. Now, when you sent this one in, I actually sent, because you were a late ad as well, I actually sent this board in this particular configuration, although I didn't know that it was five-handed, so it might change things, to Nate, because he's always in the solver streets. I don't know if, yeah, there he is in the live chat. I just had asked him, what does the solver say about flop c-bet sizing on this board in this configuration? Oh, I did have five-handed in here. I don't know if he accounted for it. Like, what is bet and for what sizing? And he said, on this board, our range prefers to take a large size in this flop the majority of the time, but goes 1/3 about 25% of the time. Our combo of queen jack suited is a mix. It goes big a little over half the time. It goes 1/3 about 30% of the time. It's a big fucking mix. Okay, it's a big fucking mix. I just knew that the sizing was a little bit in between. I knew that for sure. I would still probably tend to take kind of a smaller sizing here. I guess sometimes you might get raised and you get blown off of your equity. But Queen Jack suited being one of my favorite hands in Hold'em, I like a lot of turn cards here. Any card above an 8 is going to give you something. But you bet 225.
Yes. And she just calls.
Button calls. So now the pot is 1,030. You've got Queen Jack of Diamonds, 10 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 3 of clubs. And if the button is any type of player here, it's kind of is still in between sizing, but ace highs with a club in it that are 2 overcards are going to be called. And in like ace jack off is definitely a defend, I think, five-handed against a small blind type of thing. Even hands like going down the line, king, queen with a club, obviously a 10. And I don't think she's folding out pairs here either, even some pocket pairs, maybe like deuce, deuce, no club or something like that. But I think like 5s through 9s still have to call. So she can still be relatively wide. 10-30 here to the turn. Okay.
Right, and the turn is going to be the ace of hearts.
All right. So the turn's the ace of hearts. And that is the ultimate. Well, I actually look at the king as the ultimate. I mean, it's the ultimate bluff card in the sense that you have the way that people construct a 3-betting range contains a lot of ace X, but you don't get as many folds on an ace as you do on a king. Reason being is because people are playing with ace 3, ace 4, where they're not playing king 3, king 4. They're going to always probably float with 2 overcards with an ace. So you won't get quite as many folds, but I'm still going to probably barrel here. And it makes a hand like 9-10 pretty hard to continue. You get all the pocket pairs to fold out. Obviously, she can have some nut flush draws and things like that. So what did you do here?
I went 500.
So hero bets 500. And again, for that reason, I don't think an ace is necessarily always gets to get overbet like a king, which I think is a little bit different because a king is truly disconnected. So you take a half pot sizing. Now remember, you started with 2,800. You've put in already 500. So this is going to, if she calls, it's going to leave about a pot size bet left. I kind of think that maybe this is, I'm trying to think of would I go, could you ever get away with actually going somewhat smaller here? And also, too, another option is sometimes actually delay. You know what a delayed double barrel is here?
We would check the flop and then barrel the turn.
No, delayed double barrel here, I would check turn. And if she checks it back, she sort of, I mean, she might be checking back some ace X, but you can bluff the river in a spot like this. It's still hard for like 10X to call quite a bit. So yeah, there's a number of different options here. I don't know if I'm going to take huge overbet. Again, I don't, the whole thing with the ace when she has some ace X here, if she's still going to fold out those other hands here, like 8s, 9s, and put yourself in a tough spot with like 10X, I don't know if you need to start polarizing here as an overbet. Hero bet's 500, okay.
Right, and I was kind of confused on my sizing on the turn because it felt kind of like you said, a little bit of everything was available besides like overbet. I didn't want to go too small, but I still wanted to barrel this card for sure. So, but I also wanted some money back on the river in the event that I decide to jam as a bluff, which just to have that option available.
So she called again?
She does call.
Yeah, that's troublesome. Pot is now 2030. It's just interesting because of this in-between sizing, because I don't know, like the 10X portion of her range, she's getting 3-1 in turn pot odds. That's how I would look. Like if I had Jack 10 suited here, Queen 10, something like that, and you bet 500 into 1,000, and I call again, I'm getting 3-1 on the turn, and I do have some ace X, so you're not really like allowed to just blindly like bluff off. A lot of people might actually give up when that person calls here again on the turn. So I think some of the 10X portion continues on here. Pot's 2030.
And the river will be the queen of spades.
So the river here is the queen of spades. So that's interesting because now you don't have to bluff the 10X portion of her range, right?
Right.
I mean, it seems to me like this is a check and evaluate. I mean, because you can beat some of her range that's just going to check back, I don't think that I would take this hand and necessarily have to risk bluffing her off of like ace deuce, ace 5, like ace 8 of clubs, something like that. Whereas if you ended up with a total airball and you had no pair and you wanted to try to bluff off 10X, that's different.
Do you think there's any merit to a blocker kind of bet like 300 to 600 at the end here?
I don't know. You mean 300 to 600 for when we talked about blocker bets, and again, a couple months ago, I was always sort of with and I don't want to confuse people. I was with the whole approach where a blocker bet didn't really make any sense unless you could get called by, a worse hand. So if you blocked and 10x wouldn't call you, what's the point? But as somebody brought up, in theory, there actually is a thing of blocking if you're truly balanced with the nuts, because if you block, then your opponent can't bluff you as much. Meaning that, like, if you check, your opponent might put in a bet that will bluff you off the hand and you don't get to realize. But if you're blocking with the nuts too, then it's a smaller portion of her range that she gets to bluff, because she'd be bluff raising and risking more money on her end when you sometimes can have the nuts. I tend to think that I just check here and evaluate.
Right. I do check, and she bets 1,500.
Button bets 1,500. This is where I would look at this. If it's a good player here, I would probably fold more often. And here's why. So a good player is going to be able to make value bets that are thinner than a bad player. If a bad player bet this river, I actually might get more curious, because I know a bad player for values, probably minimum, especially for this sizing, is ace queen. She does take a pretty big sizing here for 1,500, but if she had something like ace 10, even something like ace 4, where she thought that, like, you could have like ace king, ace jack, and call down, it's like a kind of a merge in position. So the better the player, the more I would probably tend to fold out. Now, with that being said, the theory might be like, well, the better the player, the more bluff she's going to find. That could be true, but in live poker, that's the approach that I would take. That the less 1,500 is polarizing, the more I fold, to put it as simple as possible. So I might look up a worse player here than a good player. And I think against a good player, I think I probably fold. I know you're blocking like, king jack, but if she can value bet 2 pair here, what is it that she is betting? Just busted clubs, some sort of straight draw that either is on the front door and turns a backdoor side. If she had something like 4 or 5 of hearts, I mean, that's definitely got to be turned into a bluff here as well. So, I mean, I suppose there is a little bit of a good player might have some hands that are turned into bluffs in some of the types of situations. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a bad player, it truly is polarized.
Right. And at the time, I actually thought the opposite. In my mind, this was like never going to be bluffed by a bad player.
Well, it might not be bluffed by a bad player all that often, but it could still be polarizing though. So you can get into a situation where you just might not, even if it's bluffed a certain amount of the time, if he just doesn't have that many value hands.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So what did you end up doing here?
I tanked for a long time trying to kind of figure this one out. And I ended up picking up calling chips, and it almost looked like I was going to call with the motion I made. I kind of did a pump fake unintentionally. And her hand, this was kind of the deciding factor, was she looked like she was going to grab her cards and flip them over. And that was kind of what actually led me to making the fold, because I was truly like down the middle. So I did end up folding.
So you say that you kind of tried to make it look like you were going to call, and you kind of tried to get a read that she was going to turn her hand over.
That was it was unintentional. Like I was kind of like I made the motion to call because I was really thinking about calling, and I was looking for reads, but I didn't intentionally pump fake her to get a read, but I did see her almost like go to grab her cards very quickly once I moved my chips forward.
I'm laughing because people in the live chat are saying angle, angle, angle. And we'll put a link into the video that we're going to do, which is a true angle spot that we're actually doing on this same live stream that I'm sure will go up on our YouTube before this call. You're saying that it was unintentional. Some guys will do that. I will always be very hyper aware if I'm your opponent, if a guy putting off that reverse type of thing. So if a guy tried to do that and I was bluffing, maybe I would go to like I was going to show my cards. But I think I fold here anyways. But we never got a reveal, or what?
No, I never got a reveal. I haven't had a chance to run into her or talk to her since then.
Okay. Well, we sometimes will get flamed in the comments. Why do you have hands on where there's no reveal? I mean, I assume that the main purpose, the reason why people are watching the show is for the poker part and to learn poker and to get better at poker. So whether we have a reveal here or not doesn't really matter. Because if she turned over King Jack of Hearts and she showed you King Jack of Hearts, that doesn't mean that there isn't another time where she has 5-6 of hearts and didn't show you, right? So we're just trying to make the best decisions. It's not necessarily the best results. I think it's close, but I think I find a fold. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.